Hey guys, when interest rate increases next year, how afraid should you be as a REIT investor? This is something that we covered in our last Saturday's class, so I'm going to attach some of the snippets and important points for you to share and enjoy. And should you start worrying, you would always ask yourself, if when interest rates go up, is it something that you should be afraid? How much you should be afraid? How will it affect your REITs investments? In this week's video, this is what we're going to explore. And as usual, give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to our channel if you like what you see. We presented in on Saturday when we had our Christmas event. So one of the key things that we touch on, is the impact for you, the REIT investor, if interest rates go up. How do you put yourself in a defensive position? Okay, so let's move on. Now, in our class on Saturday, we also touch on a few things. That is actually what to expect for REITs in 2022, which we will, of course, go through in detail in our February class. So do join us for that class where we help you to position your best buy REIT propositions for the coming year. Remember, in REITs, it's difficult to lose money. But if you had actually chosen the bad REITs or bought into bad REITs at ugly prices, then you will have an ugly year. So what we try to do is to avoid that for you. Then, of course, we talk about why incorporate REITs in one's investment portfolio. Simple, because in the end, REITs on a risk-adjusted basis in the last few decades, since they have been around, both in Singapore, in the US, in Japan, in Australia, they have actually proved that they are outperformed equities on a risk-adjusted basis over the long term. And then last but not least, we also look at what to fear in REITs for the coming year. Now, essentially, ladies and gentlemen, this actually, to further understand what the implications of rate increase next year will be, let's look back at essentially the last rate increases. Now, the last rate increases, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, only started 7 years after the global financial crisis, when interest rates was brought down to a low of 0 to 0.25%. Then the first rate increase started only in December of 2015, 7 years later. It was only followed by one more the following year. Then only in 2007 that it went on what we call a 007 James Bond kind of move, where they went up 3 times in 2017. Then it became a change in the movie. That is actually in 2018, it became from James Bond to Fast and Furious, where the number of interest rates actually increased from 3 times to 4 times of quarter point each. Then that's what we always warn. There's always reversion to the mean, as well as actually when things move up too fast, too quick, in too short a period of time, you get the blue black. And the blue black started in 2019. Okay. Now, so what and to what extent did the REIT market perform or had performed during this period? As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the period from 2015 to 2017. And as you know, 2015, the sell-off started in August of 24 because of the Black Monday or the Chinese renminbi big devaluation on 24th of August. That actually had a corresponding in sympathy move for REITs, which went down 17% from the index of 660 to 550. And then after that, as we always tell all our investor students, that when the big sell happens like that in a short period of time, it always present a great buying opportunity. And that's the kind of buying opportunities that we're looking out for when interest rate starts to move up next year, as well as 2023, because then that will set off the foundation for a sharp rise. And true enough, ladies and gentlemen, when we have in the midst of rising interest rates, the REIT index can actually surge, and indeed surge by 32% from 550 to 726, because at any moment in time when the Fed actually becomes too over-optimistic in pushing up the interest rates, you can see that either they pause for a while or they give market conditions a right for it to ponder whether they should seize. Now, that kind of opportunity is the kind of opportunity that you seize upon to ensure that REITs may then outperform. Then, of course, in 2017, when they started to actually move up interest rates 3 times, and the market, you notice, in 2016, that means 6 months earlier, already preempted. So then it led to the next downdraft of 16%. Okay, right. And then when interest rates really started to move up in 2017, remember in the earlier chart, we showed you 3 rate increases. Now, that is already factored in by the market. That's why you saw, the REIT market moving up like that in a steady up channel. It may come as a surprise to you, but moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is what we have always taught in our classes, that once the market anticipate, what the Federal Reserve would do, and what the Federal Reserve does is incongruent with market expect, then you can see that the market will not misbehave anymore. In fact, the periods, therefore, when the market misbehaves, like big sell-off here, as here, now have turned out to be the greatest buying opportunity. All right. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the kind of appropriate analogy, examples, illustrations that we think will happen in 2022, 2023, when the Fed embarks on the next interest rates increases. So bottom line is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. Do you fret or do you not fret? Like, do you get afraid? You won't, right? Because if you follow our GCP Global classes, we will guide you closely, at each time, because when interest rates starts to move up, you can bet for sure that the news media will seize upon it, will actually turn the situation and squeeze the tower out of, from 1 rate increases, the possibility of 10 may arises. From 2 rate increases, the possibility of close to 15 may arises, depending on market conditions. Of course, market conditions are dynamic, they changes all the time, but do not forget, they always regress back to the mean, right? So what we always tell you is to prepare you what the market presents, what is already discounted or baked into the prices, and what to expect then when there is either a major sell-off, or essentially if prices move too far, then we will either then take the opportunity as option buy or to profit off the table. Okay, one of the key things that we watch very closely is the 10-year bond yield. And earlier on in this year, when the bond yield actually was at 0.66% in October last year and shot up to a high of 1.77%, on 31st of March this year, we already told our investor student in our classes that this 110 basis points move over a period of 6 months is unprecedented. It's too much, too short. So when that resulted in weakness in the REIT market, that became a buying opportunity. Okay, so yes, this is something that we proxy and we watch very closely together with the CBOE volatility index. Okay, so essentially this is the dot plot chart, ladies and gentlemen, that the Federal Reserve, the latest. You can see that the expectations for 2022 is now close to 0.95%. Okay, so looking at the current rate, you're looking at a possible 3 moves of 1/4% each, and then come next year 2023 or the following year, you're looking at 0.95 to about 0.45. That means on the low end, 2 more rate increases. At the high end, maybe another 3 or 4 rate increases. And then it comes to 2024, but you notice that the end game, is actually around 2.5%, which is very close to the long-term defined as 20-year average, for the 10-year bond yield. So even if you have 4 years of consistent rate increases, ladies and gentlemen, what is there to be afraid of? Well, it's very simple. It just brings the 10-year bond yield back to where it is, the average for the last 20 years. So should you, as a REIT investor, freak out, or do you actually seize that buying opportunities? This is what we will answer in our February class, and we hope that you can actually join us for that class and take advantage of the early bird special now, okay, until the end of this week. So Merry Christmas, everyone, and have a great year ahead. So once again, hope you enjoyed the video. Do like and share, subscribe to our channel, as well as to stand a chance to win a lucky draw for next year. And of course, if you like what you think you can learn and make the money on REITs, do sign up for our upcoming class in
February next year. See you and Happy New Year!